Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Rounding the Bases podcast. I'm Tom Coons, along with Coach Porter, and we have a very special guest on this balmy night in Alabama. I think it's 27 degrees out there, actually. Zach Cart, who is Coach. Why don't you introduce Zach? Seeing you have a direct tie there, and we'll get going with this.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. It's I'm in a nice, uh, good old Parkersburg, West Virginia, with about a foot of snow and about 20 degrees. But as I just told my players in a message a little bit ago, find a way to work out because it's baseball season. One of the great things about New Year's, and of course, just coming off the ABCA, as many people have got back from, is that it's baseball season, right? It may be basketball, other sports may think this, but this is a home stretch for our, getting ready for the season. And with that, we have a great guest tonight, Coach Zach Cart. Coach Cart is a former player of mine in college baseball. Is actually one of my first recruits as a head coach. He was a 4-year starter at Ohio Valley University NCAA Division II school, played in an NCAA Division II regional, played on a conference championship team, played on one of the best hitting teams in the country, and did a great job of just being a team leader, a catcher by trade, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But Zach also, a few years ago, started and continues to run the Blennerhassett Bears, a travel baseball organization here in the Mid Ohio Valley, that serves all areas of the Mid Ohio Valley. And he's been able to, keep that going and turn the organization, into it, has built a facility or renovated a building for a facility, and has really, done a great job of just helping baseball grow in this area. He's also a father of a young baseball player who's just getting into high school, and has had to make some decisions on what they want to do with their son, who is adamant about playing college baseball. And he's also one of my assistant baseball coaches, at Warren High School. So just wanted to, gain another perspective from a parent, someone who started and continues to run a travel organization, someone who is up to date with all the new theories and analytics and stuff in catching. So just a few things tonight. Zach's going to talk a little bit about starting a travel organization and different trends in travel baseball and all that entails. Catching, and then of course the decision making and he has firsthand knowledge how to put your son into a travel ball situation is going to help him, and then of course how that ties into head and account recruiting. So without further ado, Mr. Zach Cart.
Take it away, Zach.
Thanks, Coach. So greatly appreciate the opportunity to come on with you guys tonight. Really inspired after being at ABCA for a few days and getting kind of a shot in the arm with all the other coaches and the energy there at that program. And so we'll kick it off with travel ball. And I know travel ball used to be a really bad word. Now it can still kind of be a bad word. But at the same time, if we talk about the overview of travel baseball, it's kind of tricky. And so the reason I say that is because, it's got a lot of negative annotations on the side, because travel ball gets the name that, if you don't like one way an organization's going, you just go start your own. And so when we started the Blennerhassett Bears, I say we because another friend of mine that's really close, we both made the jump, and our goal was, we looked at a couple different angles. And so one, we wanted a development first program, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that means. But also we wanted to create a culture that renewed the player's interest year after year. And so at that time, there was a study put out, and this was probably 2018, probably a little bit earlier than that, maybe 2016, 2017. And major fall offs in baseball are between 8U and 9U. That's a real tricky year where they go from coach pitch to kid pitch. And then also between the 13, 14 age group, when you go from a smaller field to a bigger field. And now they've updated that report, and it looks like, when they go from junior high baseball to high school baseball. And so our goal was to ensure that players had a good culture, and we wanted to push development first and ensure that those players were being developed properly at the age group that they were in. So as a goal, and I know that this probably could be frowned upon, and I know I've received some negative feedback for it, but as a travel ball, as a program administrator, my goal was always to really hit that 500 mark. I wanted to challenge my players enough to where they received a great benefit from the development that we were trying to provide. But also, if I'm going out and winning, if I've got a 900 winning percentage on the travel ball circuit, then I'm not going out and trying to pursue the type of competition that I feel my players deserve as justice. And so that was really our thought process when we started. We were adamantly against playing more than 50 games, spring, summer, and fall, and that's everything included. I know that again, that's an odd concept for a lot of different organizations, but at the same time, I mean, we've had teams 8U, 9U, 10U, 11U, 12U. And we really wanted to inspire the culture and create a culture where they really enjoy just getting better. It's really important that the parents have that same understanding, because I know, Coach and I have the conversation all the time about how we want a program to run and how we want our players to be held responsible and accountable. At the travel, it's just a little bit different, because you got to have that relationship with the parents and that connection to ensure that those things are going to operate efficiently and make sure that they're on the same page and they have the same goals that you have. So my advice for folks that are looking for organizations that are trying to seek those organizations, number one, you got to understand the main purpose and what those organizations are trying to achieve for your kid. And a lot of times, when they say they just want to win baseball games or softball games, you might want to look a little bit deeper into the weeds and truly understand if they're in the market to develop your player. I think those are very, very key pertinent points when we look at our organization. One thing that and I'll just tell a story real quick. I had a player that played for me. And we would take, with our organization and our program, we took one big trip a year. I didn't like harnessing folks with huge fees and huge expenses. But our one big trip per year, we would go to kind of a destination location. One time we went to Louisville Slugger Bat Company. One time, we went up to Ocean City, Maryland. And one time we went down to Charleston, South Carolina. And what was really inspiring for me is we tried to keep our fees as low as possible. And it was no one's making money in our program. People are, we're putting into the program. And the kid came to us and he said, Coach, he came up and thanked me one day. And he said, this is the first time I've ever seen the Atlantic Ocean. This is the first time I've ever been to the beach. And so creating those type of situations in that culture is really what keeps baseball players in the game for a longer duration. I tell folks that, as it stands today, for my team that I coached, I've only lost one player. And I say I've only lost one player because I've only had one player that is not playing baseball anymore within our particular age group and our team. It's just really, really important to make that connection and ensure that that's what's best for the player. So do you guys have any questions, feedback comments there?
I can relate because I had a travel organization before I got into college up in New York, and we had 7 travel teams. Same thing, no paid coaches. No, there was other travel teams in the area that paid their coaches $8,000 to $10,000 and did this and did that. And we did the destination trip one time. What you lose sight of though is the kids aren't the only ones paying here. The parents go to the hotel. There's food. There's this. There's that. And I think your points are well taken. Whether it's baseball or softball, it's a great concept, especially knowing you're not going to do 90 games instead of 50 games, because just like anything else, your body, your arm, your legs also need rest. I'd love to see a statistic, Coach, on how many injuries major league or college pitchers or players get that played travel baseball of 90 games a year before they got there. And they're just, arms are wore out or something is let go or like that. So I think that's a great concept. Coach Porter, I mean, you're involved in summer ball now. What do you think?
Yeah, all valid points. I mean, I agree. And, it was kind of around when they were setting this up. I was still coaching in college. And, the thing that sticks out to me the most is the player development, and interwoven at all levels is the character development piece and the way these guys, and I kind of forget this, just came to my mind. I actually coached a team one summer in the organization, one of the 13U teams.
Yeah.
And we, there was I've always felt that there was a difference, and this is a small market area, right? Where, as a high school coach and a summer coach, you hear other coaches talking about guys going to this coach and guys going to this coach. And it's like, we don't really have, we have that here, but we really don't. We're trying to inject this area into, what it means and what it takes to play at the next level in player development. And I always felt, like I said, and I'm partial to the organization, but I've always felt that they've done things the right way. And from how they wear their uniforms to how they work out to how they show up at the field. There's so many good things there in the character development interwoven in that. Talk a little bit about, a couple success stories, that you have. So, granted, before I'm going to preface this by saying, when we talk about small markets, this is a small market for travel baseball. Right? We are in the Mid-Ohio Valley. Football and basketball are the kings. I'm not saying baseball is not important or popular, but in some circles, I think it could be known as, quote unquote, just baseball, which drives this guy that's talking, the bald guy talking, drives him absolutely batty, because for me, I played football, did not play a whole lot of basketball. Baseball, by far, baseball's a tough sport, right? So for the things that the Bears have accomplished thus far are amazing. So go ahead, just highlight a couple, success stories of players at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And so throughout the duration of the Bears, one thing, as we pushed really the development first aspect, when we founded the organization, we had 3 teams, and we had a 16U team, a 12U team, and a 9U team. And what's great about that, and why I promote culture, is that every single one of those 9U players wanted to be like every single one of those 16U players. And so those guys had a really, really neat relationship. And this was before, I was fortunate enough to get to hear a keynote from Coach McConnell, Dan McConnell from the University of Louisville. And he always dropped on us, or the one big nugget that I took away from his keynote was, you retain 25% of the things that you're taught, you retain 50% of the things that you do, and you retain 75% of the things that you teach. And so what was great for our 16U team at the time is that they were learning how to teach the game, which reinforced the positive and all of the teachings that I think, Coach, you had some influence on that team as well. And so one success story out of that 16U team is obviously we had a fella and Coach Coons, we were talking about your son coaching, and he ended up going to Marshall, having a really good career at Marshall, and he got drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he is definitely a proud Blennerhassett Bear. I was just with him the other night working out in our facility. So that's obviously that's the picture perfect dream situation. We also had kids that came off of that team and played at a great institution at the Division II level. We had one that went to Glenville State and one that went to West Virginia Wesleyan and played. And those guys really flourished in those environments. But we also had other success stories. Coach was talking about the character. We had one of our players that enlisted in the military, and he's a fantastic young man and made a great career in the military, and he's defending our country. I mean, he's defending the freedoms that we get to go and play baseball and talk baseball every day for us. So I'm extremely proud of that crew and those guys, because I'm very hopeful that 12U team, when we started, they're all seniors this year. So that's going to be really exciting to see. We've had one commit, which is in Coach Porter's program at the Legion, on the Legion level, and so watching those guys grow up is fantastic also. So I would say that those are probably are definitely our higher prominent success stories, and we hope to continue those. I know that we're going to have a lot more of those success stories as time goes on.
Why don't you talk a little bit about, you've got a son now, and he's young, he's a ninth grader, really wants to play college baseball, and talk a little bit about your decision-making process, your family's decision-making progress on trying to put him in the best situation to develop and to be able to do that, and how a program like us can help him get there.
100%. And so what's really critical, Coach, you said a couple key words there, right? Exposure and development. I mean, obviously those are big time words. Exposure, the definition of exposure can be interpreted a couple different ways. The random person off the street, you say exposure to them, they're thinking PBR showcases, they're thinking this, they're thinking that. Whereas exposure to me is really capability, right? I want to expose my son to very capable players that are going to make him better from a development perspective. And so when we look at situations, my wife and I have conversations, and we want to expose him to the next talent level. And so that's really important for us when we look at what training programs we're looking at and who we're developing with and things like that. The other thing that I'll drop in for you is the development piece. And so Mark DeRosa had a great piece, and I love Mark DeRosa because I'm a Cubs guy, but he had a great piece on MLB Network one day, and he was talking about his son and how his son developed and how we had, the ages of puberty, right? And what's very unique about your particular program is you stay with them through the duration of their, sophomore, junior, senior year, and you work with them all the way through. And that's very critical because you don't know when these athletes are going to hit puberty. You don't know when they're going to take off. And so we might have a desire to go play college baseball or to go, and aspire to do certain things. But that timing in which you hit puberty and things really start to click, that's what makes a big difference. And so I think that, that lends the hand towards the program, ahead in account recruiting, because, even if you engage with someone that is a freshman, you're going to be there through the duration of that process. And that to me is highly valuable. And I don't see that out of a lot of other programs, especially, even if we look at it from a travel ball perspective and you look at it from the program that you offer players.
Nice.
I think that's a good point. It's your definition of exposure is excellent. I think that gets lost in translation, whether it's parents expecting it or vice versa. Coach Porter and I, when we talk to kids for our program, first thing, do you really, 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 really want to play in college? Because of the commitment that's involved with athletics, in addition to academics, social life, away from home, all those things. And which sounds like your definition of exposure is great, because it helps prepare them for a well-rounded athlete and academic student versus, I just want to play Division I baseball. I'm a baseball player. I want to go. And I think what you're doing is doing right. You're preparing people to cope with college athletics, college academics, and the world in general.
Absolutely. And I think one takeaway, right, from the ABCA this weekend is, we're sitting 4 rows behind Coach Corbin with Vanderbilt, and we're around all these other guys. And those guys, they just want ball players. They want ball players. And the ball player definition for them is you're going to go to class. You're going to do the things you need to do. It's not always metric driven, right? They know the game. They want to aspire to be a part of the game. And hearing the stories from all of these different avenues, NAIA, junior colleges, even the big stage. Tony V was up there, but those guys, they just want ball players, and understanding how to deal with that adversity makes you a great ball player, right?
Talk to us a little bit. You're a Division II player, 4-year starter. Like I said earlier, played in a Division II regional tournament. Played on a conference championship team. Just talk a little bit about your experience, and it's wild to think that we're approaching 20 years since your college career. But just talk a little bit about what being part of a team and your kind of experience in college baseball as a player was. And we try to talk a little bit about that on here because I think it's important. I know times have changed, and I know the landscape's changing. But one thing that's always going to stay the same is that, and this is the thing. I think maybe Clint Hurdle said this over the weekend when I heard him talk, and it was like, you're not going to remember, the games necessarily, right? But you're going to remember the locker room. You're going to remember the team, and when you really think about that, I think that's happening. But anyway, talk a little bit. We had Billy Pinkerton on here before, who played in the College World Series.
Right.
And he talked about his experience as a player and, looking over and his second baseman's now a big leaguer and all that stuff. So, talk a little bit about, your college experience, your team, and, how it's, helped you as a father or as a professional, as a coach, whatever it may be. Because I think that sometimes in the Twitter or the X world or TikTok or in today's recruiting world, we lose track that for 99% of all college baseball players, college baseball is a vehicle for, to be able to train in life. And that comes from a lot of different areas. Your teammates, your professors, the good, the bad, all of it.
Yeah, 100%. And so, the one word that pops in my mind is really adversity. Right? Being able to deal and endure with adversity. And whether that's on the baseball field or in life, the lessons are the same. It's, you strike out, you get back up. in life, you get an interview, you might get the job. If you don't get the job, you get back up, you get back in the game. I think that, my 4 years were very unique. I had a fantastic set of teammates that are, if one of those guys was in trouble or sick or something, I'd trade places with them like that. Those guys mean that much to me. And sometimes I don't get to talk to them as much, but when you look back on it, that type of camaraderie and that type of, being a part of something way bigger than you. A lot of people underestimate that. And, I think we've learned quickly at the youth level, at the high school level, how difficult that is to replicate. Will was downstairs watching the Ole Miss documentary on when they won the World Series. Coach B was he was down there watching it this morning, and I caught a couple clips as I was in between meetings, and those guys, they were just a good ball club. Those guys supported each other. They went through a great amount of adversity, lost massive games in the SEC, had to bounce back, had to rebound, had things that went wrong. Same way with us. Same way with my college experience. We had things that went wrong. We had things that should have gone wrong, that shouldn't have gone in our favor. But the fact that we could endure and we could face that adversity and overcome it, that just made us better people. It truly is a testament to the character of those players. And so I would say, if I had to reflect on any any part of that is adversity. We did so much, so long with so little that it makes it feel like anything's possible with any resources that we get, right? So if you ask me about that particular experience, that's immediately what I think, just because of the amount of success that we had. With literally no resources and the type of guys that we had around us. So that's really important. And I think people dramatically undervalue that. The one thing that I talk with my son about is, even if we're watching a college game, hey, look at how if a guy strikes out and walks in the dugout, look at how his teammates treat him. That's the type of culture that is within that team. You can look at travel ball the same way. If you're looking at a travel organization, or if you're looking at, if you're looking at a particular school, they've got to look at how the teammates interact. And that's all set at the top. You can't force it, but the tone is set at the top. It's really hard to think that Nick Saban would ever have a team with a bad culture, right? Those are things that are really important. And Coach, testament to you, like, we always had a great culture. Sometimes it was hard, and sometimes we didn't want to deal with it. But at the same time, we all knew that we had to bring it every day. And that's what develops a great culture.
You're building people, well-rounded people.
Yeah.
And it's a great point. And that's what we try to do. I think, Coach Porter, you can dive in here. But what we try to do with this organization, we just don't take your money and run. We want to stay with you. We're committed to give you every possible opportunity that we can get you and help you to the end. And that's, you can't ask for any more than that. There's a lot of programs out there that don't do that. They're more interested in the color of the uniform or the league they play in. But we're the same boat. It's creating people who can be successful after college.
It's nothing more. Your college experience is nothing more than a vehicle for on-the-job life training, right? And
yep.
As a player and as a coach, there's going to be days where it is really, really bad, and there's going to be days that it's really, really good. And like Coach Cart said, it probably shouldn't be good. And then there's days where it should be good and it ends up bad. right? And that mimics life. It mimics life. And what we do to Hidden Account Recruiting is help you find that right fit to get the most out of that opportunity
Right.
to learn and to become a good husband, mother, father, wife, because we do deal with softball, and I don't know. There's so many lessons to be taught in this game. Finding the right fit is important, and having help and having someone you can confide in, consult with, someone's going to pick up the phone for you and help you, someone's going to help you in a lot of different areas is what we do. That's what we do. And we're in the business of people, right? Baseball and softball is just kind of how we happen to help people.
And I think for everybody that's listening tonight, keep this in mind. Coach Cart's a baseball guy, but this is very back and forth with softball too. It's we'll say baseball one time, but we mean both. They're so parallel to how it goes that like I say, I always wanted to start a professional women's softball league because I think the MLB is a great thing, and there's so many great softball players out there that would be a great thing, but it costs money, obviously, and we just have to find the people that would want to do that. But I think you make a lot of sense. It's been great having you here. I mean, I hope people listen to this and actually listen to the message where, you want to play college athletics, but you got to be a great person.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Coach Cart's a heck of a catching coach too. I want to tell you that. And I know that
we need to have Coach Cart back on to talk about catching.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he'll do it, I mean, we'd love to have you because I mean, this is invaluable to a student athlete out there that's looking for this stuff. I mean, there's kids are getting poached out there for travel teams. No, we won this tournament last year. Where do you go? Where do you fit in? How do you get better? You don't get better paying $3,000 for a travel team and being the 15th person on the roster.
So, and the other part of this, and we've kind of hit on this a little bit, is that in today's game, and isn't it ironic that college baseball is now just it's kind of mimicked what people have done in travel baseball for years, and it's that and this is a problem that I have with amateur baseball. And Coach Cart and I talk a lot about this. Coach Coons and I talk a lot about this. If I don't like this, I go to the next one. If I don't like this, I go to the next one. That's what we're doing in college right now, right? And especially at the lower levels with the transfer portal, because we can say all we want about the NIL, but has that really trickled down into most of college baseball? I mean, that's at the highest level, right? But like it's like, when are we're failing, in my opinion, to teach kids how to hang in there and overcome adversity.
Right.
And look, there's going to be days like, it's like in life, you're not going to be able to be like, well, I'm just going to go to this next job tomorrow because I don't like what's going on at my job. There's a process to that. Yeah, you may be able to switch jobs eventually, but look, I mean, we teach so many lessons. I think we're going down a slippery slope of, not teaching, the right thing. I think there's a lot of merit to the transfer portal and to the NIL and all that stuff and having a choice. However, I do believe, and I see this in my own players, and I think you can attest to it, Coach Coons, Coach Cart, you can attest to it. We have great training. We have our, science is much better. We understand the human body more. We care about mental health. We're getting better at this. We care about mental health more than we ever have. However, I don't believe for the most part we're creating a generation of ball players who, will fight through the adversity and persevere. Instead, because they have so many choices, it's like, well, I'm just going to try to go to this person, or I'm just going to try to go to this person, or I'm just going to try to go to this person. And that is, that's something. It's all cyclical too. If you look, it's all cyclical. We'll come back to our roots and be like, wait, this is going to change. There'll be reform in the with NIL. There'll be reform with the portal. I guarantee it. But sometimes I think in trying to make something better, you lose some values, and I think that we've done it. And now you have some states that you can just transfer to another school one time. It's just, I mean, it's tough, but it's still a great game. We can help you out in many, many, many different ways, and I'm excited about the direction we're going. And
especially when we can get guys like Coach Cart to come on and talk about their experiences.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I'm not going to beleaguer the transfer portal anymore because we can talk about that another time. But what the biggest thing with that is, what's the next dynasty team going to be? You don't know, because you don't know who you have from one year to the next. And where I like the portal, think about how many Division III players were in the College Baseball World Series this year because they developed later and went up.
There's something to be said about that. That is a positive.
That's a positive.
That absolutely did not happen, or few and far between.
Right.
When Coach Cart was a player, when I was a player, probably when your son was even a player, okay, in college.
Right.
And so that is a positive thing. The negative to that is all these really good coaches at the lower levels of college baseball, and I don't mean lower level. I mean, I have coached at those levels, but they're getting gutted every year.
Correct.
And that's hard. That's hard. They're getting gutted. So anyway, there's good and bad to everything.
Oh yeah. Well, Coach Cart, thank you so much for joining in with us here tonight. If anybody has any questions out there, feel free to email us. Go on our website, email us. You see it there on the screen. We'll get it on to forward it on to Coach. And any questions at all. Otherwise, fill out the questionnaire. As Coach Porter has said many times, you fill it out. There's no obligation. We'll evaluate you. And I don't think you'll come across two more honest people to evaluate you, because we don't want to just take money. We want to let you know where the starting point is. So you have nothing to lose by doing that. But Coach, thank you so much for joining us. It was very informative, and if we'd love to have you back on again some night after you're done shoveling snow up there with Coach Porter.
I can't wait. I'd love to talk catching. It's no long. It can't always be a science. It's
big art. Time. Well, thanks. Tune in next Monday at 7 Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time for another podcast. We'll advertise it out there. And until then, everybody stay warm.